Huh? That's your management mistake? Why do I have to stop drinking and go back?
Even though I had anticipated it, I was at a loss for words when my prediction came true to such an extent. Please don't say that. I'm begging you.
Stop nagging. Don't call me just because you can't get into the room. Go sleep in the parking lot or something.
It sounded like he was at a club, with young women's voices in the background. While I hadn't forbidden him from going to clubs, the situation was serious. It was unforgivable for him to use this as an excuse to throw me out. My anger reached its peak at my husband's carefree and merry demeanor. Fine, if you insist, I'll sleep outside. Goodbye. With those words, I hung up the phone unilaterally and headed outside the hotel. It was my eldest son and his wife who came to my rescue. My daughter-in-law, Martina, was furious when she heard the story. My son, Wilbert, had a stern look on his face, clearly angered. Sophia, let's teach Joe a lesson together. After hearing my story, Martina said this and grasped my hand. Huh? I can't stand men who belittle women, especially when it's Wilbert's beloved mother. If a man can't cherish a woman, he doesn't deserve to be a man.
But how do we teach him a lesson?
There's only one answer to that.
You're not suggesting.
Sophia, you haven't forgotten the ways of the night, have you? Wait, what are you planning to do? We're going to show him the pain. Let him feel what it's like to be belittled as a woman. Martina's laugh, though sinister and almost terrifying, echoed.
That's why I didn't want to come. Anchorage is just cold, and there's nothing to do.
Upon arriving at the airport, my husband started complaining, making me sigh heavily. Sophia Alger, 59 years old. I came to Anchorage on a trip with my 65-year-old husband, Joe, who had recently retired. As a divorced single mother, I had been busy with work and raising my child after my divorce. My son, Wilbert, was still young, and I had no time to even think about romance. However, Joe, my current husband, relentlessly pursued me, wanting to be my support. But I was too busy to pay him any attention and kept working hectically. Nevertheless, Joe never gave up and kept asking me out. Finally, I succumbed to his persistent affection, leading to our current relationship. Initially, he was a kind and dependable husband, but gradually his behavior changed. Whether it was to maintain his dignity or just for the sake of being bossy, he started showing an exaggerated sense of self-importance. What are you saying so soon after we arrive? Look outside, it's all white. Although Joe had become a mistakenly henpecked husband, he was still my partner of many years. At this age, the thought of getting a late-life divorce seems daunting, but I've always been skilled at handling people. Figuring out how to keep Joe in the palm of my hand, almost like a game, isn't such a bad way to live. Since I've adopted this mindset, I no longer feel pained by Joe's arrogance.
So, our ride is not here yet?
Joe, disgruntled, didn't even bother to look at the scenery outside, continuing in a bothered tone. Despite his attitude making me sigh again, the snowy view outside quickly uplifted my spirits. At this point, it feels like I'm raising a child again. It's not a complaint, but rather a scary familiarity. This trip to Anchorage would make me realize that. I think it's already here. As I urged the grumpy Joe outside, the vast snowy landscape took my breath away. We get snow in Boston where we live, but it's been a while since I've seen such a heavy snowfall. Lost in the beauty, a honk from a large minivan parked nearby startled me.
Mom, Dad, over here.
It was Wilbert, waving from the window. As Joe and I approached the vehicle, the rear door opened automatically, revealing Wilbert's face in the rearview mirror.
That was a long trip, huh? You must be tired.
It was nothing much. You look good, though. How are things with Martina?
Great, as always. We even went to a hot spring in Idaho recently.
Idaho? That sounds wonderful. I'd love to relax in a hot spring too, right, Joe?
As long as I can drink, I'm fine with anything.
Is he a genius at ruining the mood? His mood-killing remark made me let out an exasperated, "Really?" But Wilbert, used to such behavior, quickly shifted to a new topic. However, Joe soon closed his eyes and fell asleep, probably because he's uncomfortable around Wilbert. It wasn't like this before, but ever since Wilbert's career started taking off, Joe's attitude changed drastically, becoming cold and distant. But Wilbert doesn't seem to care about Joe's behavior. His mental strength must come from me.
Martina's been eager to see you, Mom.
Martina is Wilbert's wife. When he first announced he was dating a girl 13 years his junior, our relatives were all over him, accusing him of leading a young girl astray. But in reality, Wilbert had found someone truly wonderful, and as a parent, I couldn't be happier. Tell her we'll see her tonight, okay? I'm looking forward to it.
Got it. I've arranged for our chauffeur to pick you up.
Thank you so much, really.
Don't mention it. You're in Anchorage now. Enjoy it.
The conversation never ran dry, perhaps because it had been years since we last met. Before we knew it, we had reached the station area, and the car pulled up at our hotel. After thanking Wilbert, we got out of the car and headed towards the hotel lobby.
Hey, go check us in. I'll wait here on the sofa.
Joe seemed exhausted from the travel, quickly settling onto a lobby sofa. Used to his ways, I checked in and got the room key. Got the room key?
Ah.
Joe responded briefly and lethargically got up to head for the elevator. Once we reached our floor and entered the room, a breathtaking view greeted us. Wow, it's beautiful. When was the last time I saw such a sight?
We just saw it. Is it really worth getting that excited about?
Really, Joe? Why do you always have to say something that ruins the moment? Keep talking like that and your face will stay twisted. I couldn't help but retort to his unnecessary comment, and Joe just grunted and laid down in the bed. He turned on the TV and started flipping through the channels, throwing a question over his shoulder.
What, they don't have that show here?
Joe, this is Anchorage. Of course they don't have our local programs.
What? I knew that. Just saying, you know.
He definitely forgot. He absolutely forgot we were in Anchorage right now. It's these occasional, obvious moments that make it hard to leave him alone. But I can't tease him too much, or he'll sulk and refuse to do anything. It's a bit tiresome having to balance it just right. Joe, let's go outside. I want to explore the city.
You go on your own. I'm going to rest until it's time. I'm tired.
His indifferent response on this much-awaited trip made me frown. What did he even come to Anchorage for? Frustrated as I was, I quickly tucked away those feelings and switched gears. I knew too well that once Joe got like this, he wouldn't budge. Resigned, I decided to explore the city alone. Anchorage had changed since I last visited. The familiar sights I remembered were nowhere to be found, but it was refreshingly new. I continued exploring the city streets until it was time to meet Wilbert and his family together for dinner. As it was getting late, I decided to head back to the hotel. I thought I'd need to fetch Joe, but it turned out to be unnecessary. There he was in the lobby, waiting on the sofa with a lively expression.
Is our ride here yet?
You really spring into action when alcohol is involved, don't you? Joe loves his drinks, and his drinking habit has been a problem for me. I had asked him to restrain himself this time, not wanting to trouble our eldest son and his wife. But Wilbur insisted he'd handle it, and I reluctantly agreed.
The drinks in Anchorage are supposed to be great. I'm going to drink to my heart's content tonight.
Just keep it moderate, please. We can't cause trouble for Martina and the others. The thought of causing a scene filled me with dread. As we waited, a minivan pulled up, and what seemed like Wilbert's driver appeared, escorting us to the vehicle. The car soon departed, heading to the restaurant where Wilbert and his wife were waiting.
Over here, both of you.
There they were, Wilbert and Martina, in front of the restaurant. Joe, Sophia, it's been a while.
Well, Martina, you're as beautiful as ever.
Thank you, Joe. I'm really happy you called and came all this way to visit us.
We had to. Inviting my son and his wife is only natural when coming to Anchorage.
It was Joe who had suggested inviting Wilbert and his wife. He said since we were going to Anchorage, why not invite them? But his real intention was probably Martina. He wanted to drink with a beautiful woman. His ulterior motive was obvious. But Martina, being experienced, handled it well. Don't worry, Sophia. Leave it to me. You must be tired from your usual routine. I'll take care of Joe so you can enjoy the meal, okay? Her kindness, more concerned about me than Joe's intentions, made me decide to indulge in it.
Come on, let's go inside where it's warm. The food here is delicious, and the bourbon is top-notch. Really? That sounds exciting.
He really livens up when it comes to alcohol. With an exasperated look, I watched as the men disappeared into the restaurant. Joe is still the same, isn't he? Really? Always such a handful. But he's pretty simple from your point of view, right? I guess it's a walk in the park for me. Foo. It's comforting to see that some things never change. Let's go inside and eat some delicious food, shall we? Martina and I walked in later and were guided to our table. The men had already started drinking, and both of us sighed at the sight. The meal began, and we enjoyed Anchorage's fresh seafood and delicious drinks. It was a lavish experience, and the clock was nearing 10 p.m.
Man, that was good. I always wanted to bring you two to this place when we came to Anchorage. I'm glad we did. It was really delicious, especially the bourbon. It was superb.
Joe, you say that about anything you drink, right? Now, Sophia. But really, it was wonderful. I had a great time talking with you, Sophia. I'm satisfied, too. Martina's smile seemed angelic, and I couldn't help but smile naturally. The restaurant was about to close, so we paid the bill and headed out, taking a taxi back to the hotel.
You go back to the hotel first.
What will you do?
I'm going out to drink again. It's Anchorage after all. I can't just not drink.
I was astounded by Joe's nonchalant attitude. Having walked around all day, I was physically exhausted and decided to return to the room.
All right, I'm off then.
Joe walked off briskly into the night, increasing my sense of disbelief. Just as I thought about taking a shower to relax, something struck me. Oh no! Does Joe have the room key? After Joe left last, I realized I hadn't taken the room key from him. This hotel required guests to manage their own room keys, and losing one meant a fine. I didn't lose it, but I needed to call Joe back. No choice but to call him. What a predicament! How many times had I sighed today? While pondering this, I called Joe, who surprisingly answered quickly.
What's up? You're interrupting my fun.
His obviously irritated voice made me slightly annoyed. But getting angry would only worsen his mood. I reminded myself to smile and forced a strained one over the phone. Sorry to interrupt, but you have the room key, right? I can't get into our room. Could you please come back?
Huh? That's your fault for not managing it. Why do I have to stop drinking and come back?
Though I anticipated his response, it was still frustratingly on point. Please don't say that. I'm really stuck here.
Stop nagging me. If you can't get into your room, just sleep in the parking lot or somewhere like that.
I could hear the voices of young women in the background. Maybe he was at a club. I hadn't forbidden him from going to clubs, but the current situation was serious. I couldn't tolerate him leaving me out in the cold like this. My anger peaked at Joe's carefree and merry attitude. Fine, if that's what you want, I'll sleep outside. Goodbye. After saying that, I ended the call and headed outside the hotel. I should have thought of asking for a master key, but I was too angry to consider it at the time. The Anchorage night was freezing, and I could feel my body temperature dropping rapidly. What should I do now? Just then, my phone rang.
Oh, Mom, what are you doing right now?
I can't get into my room because of a situation.
What? What? Where are you? Go to a family restaurant or a grocery store. I'll send someone to pick you up.
It was Wilbert on the phone. What perfect timing. I sighed with relief at this lifeline. Soon, a ride arrived, and I was taken to Wilbert's house. As I got out of the car, Martina greeted me and led me inside. I'm sorry for barging into your home like this. Don't be silly. Are you okay? Thank you, Martina. I'm fine.
Why couldn't you get back to the hotel? Where's the room key?
As I sat on the living room sofa, moved by Martina's warmth, Wilbert spoke up in a serious tone. I explained the situation to him and sipped the coffee he ordered.
So, it was Dad, after all.
You knew?
Actually, I got a call from one of my staff earlier. They said a man resembling your husband was at one of my clubs, arguing with his wife on the phone.
Unbeknownst to Joe, Wilbert was a shrewd businessman who owned several establishments, including a club. Joe had apparently gone there.
Unbelievable. Who just leaves a woman out in the cold because he wants to drink?
Aren't you upset about it, Sophia? Huh? Martina's question left me speechless. Certainly, I couldn't contain my anger. But after decades together, I had resigned myself to the idea that this is just how he is, and getting angry was a waste of time. I'm really upset. To treat someone important to you like that, even if it's Joe, I can't forgive that. Martina's face was stern as she confronted me, making me instinctively step back. Sophia, let's teach Joe a lesson. Huh? I can't stand men who belittle women, especially when it's Wilbert's dear mother. If a man can't cherish a woman, he's not worth being a man.
But how do we teach him a lesson?
There's only one answer to that.
You're not suggesting.
Sophia, you haven't forgotten the ways of the night, have you?
Wait, what are you planning to do?
We're going to show him the pain. Let him feel what it's like to be belittled as a woman. Martina's laugh was sinister, almost terrifying. Come on, we can't just sit around. We need to hurry and get ready. Sophia, Wilbert, let's go. With those words, Martina led us in a taxi to the club managed by Wilbert. Upon arrival, several staff members greeted us at the entrance. We were escorted to a backstage area, surrounded by makeup artists, coordinators, and the club's exclusive staff. I've gathered my personal staff, so you're in good hands. Let's let you get back to your glamorous self, Sophia. Wait, Martina, what are you saying? We're going to show Joe just how incredible you are. Martina was full of enthusiasm, seemingly enjoying herself, which I found reassuring.
Everything's set on my end, Martina. I've contacted the people you asked for.
Great work, Wilbert. Let's hurry with the makeup and changing. At Martina's signal, I was swiftly transformed with a dress change and makeup application. Wearing a dress after such a long time, along with hair and makeup, felt rejuvenating. The corset straightened my posture naturally. Sophia, are you ready? Yes, of course. I lifted my face with determination, ready to step into the battleground that the club would become.
Excuse me, sir. We have a special event tonight. Would you like to join our number one for a drink free of charge?
The server's offer, especially mentioning no charge, brightened Joe's face. For Joe, there was no reason to refuse.
Sure, that's fine. Introduce her to me.
Certainly.
Martina, please come over.
As the server called her, Martina approached Joe first. With her makeup and flashy dress, Joe didn't seem to recognize her as Wilbert's wife. Nice to meet you. I'm Martina. Pleasure to serve you.
Martina, huh? Nice to meet you,
Joe said, placing his hand on Martina's shoulder. Watching from the back room, I felt a sense of discomfort at his behavior, resolving to apologize to Wilbert later. After some enjoyable conversation and laughter, it was finally my turn to approach Joe's table. Mr. Joe, we have a new lady here tonight. Would you like to meet her?
Sure. I'd do anything you ask.
Thank you so much. Please go ahead. When Martina signaled the staff, I walked towards Joe's table. Here's our new girl, Sophia. Nice to meet you. I'm Sophia. Pardon my intrusion.
Wow, Sophia, quite beautiful. Wait, what? Sophia?
Joe, at first not realizing, finally recognized me after seeing my face and hearing my voice, reacting dramatically with surprise. Oh, have we met before?
What are you saying? What is this act? Ouch!
He raised his voice in surprise. I stepped on his foot, smiling as if to silence him. Sir, please keep your voice down. We have other guests in the establishment.
What are you doing? No, what is this about? Why are you here?
Can't you see? You left me out, so I'm being looked after here.
Huh? Do you even realize where you are?
Just as Joe started to confront me, the music in the club got louder, and several male customers gathered around our table.
What is this? These are Sophia's clients, here to celebrate her one-day return. Wilbert, what are you doing here?
Oh, didn't you know? This place is managed by Wilbert.
What?
Joe's eyes nearly popped out of his head, overwhelmed by the unexpected events.
I just had to guide her here when Mom said she was making a one-day comeback. The clients insisted, even if just for a greeting.
The other patrons started making noises, realizing something unusual was happening.
Hey, isn't that Martina, the #1 bottle girl? Wait, but next to her, isn't that the legendary #1 bottle girl from Anchorage? Martina, wait, what are you saying Sophia is?
Aren't you catching on yet, Joe? Martina tilted her head playfully with a sly smile.
Martina, what's going on?
I'm the #1 bottle girl here, and... Martina gestured towards me, smiling brightly. She's the former #1 bottle girl of Anchorage, Sophia, who once made over $1 million in a single day.
What?
At Martina's revelation, Joe fell from his chair, looking up at me pathetically. Joe, you really knew nothing about Sophia. After decades together, that's so sad.
Sophia was the #1 bottle girl? $1 million? Wait, I can't comprehend this.
Understandably, he was completely taken aback. Overwhelmed by the barrage of information, Joe couldn't process it all, so I pressed on further. Well, sir, about today's bill, that'll be $100,000.
What, are you kidding me?
Of course not. After all, I was the one serving. That's a bargain for my services.
I don't have that kind of money. Besides, you said there was no charge.
That was only for my part. I never said Sophia's service was free, did I?
That's cheating. You tricked me.
You wouldn't have been tricked if you had listened properly. This is your punishment for locking me out of the hotel. You'll pay in full. As soon as I mentioned being locked out of the hotel, the men surrounding us turned to face Joe with a menacing look.
What do you mean?
They demanded, grabbing his shirt.
No, it's a misunderstanding. Calm down, please.
Really? Because of you, I almost froze under the cold sky.
I'm sorry. I won't do it again.
No, I won't forgive you. Martina stepped in, glaring at Joe. Until you apologize for your disregard towards my mother and vow to treasure her, I won't forgive you.
I promise. Just help me.
Joe, begging pathetically, was released after being forced to make a heartfelt apology.
Sophia, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I won't be arrogant anymore. I'll cherish my family. Please forgive me and let's start over.
A burly customer grabbed Joe's hair, turned his face towards me, and threatened him not to disrespect me again, then roughly threw him to the ground.
I promise I won't mistreat my wife again. I'll cherish her.
Joe was finally released and went to apologize to Martina and the others. After being sternly reminded by Martina, Joe also changed his attitudes towards Wilbert. Later, discussing this with Martina, she pointed out, "Charging $100,000 for service is pretty much fraud. I was worried we'd get caught." We both chuckled at this. Indeed, the story about me being Anchorage's former #1 bottle girl was a fabrication. While I had worked there, I hadn't achieved anything extraordinary. Wilbert and Martina had gone out of their way to arrange everything, explaining the situation to the club's clients, all to keep Joe in the dark. Those surrounding me were all Martina's clients, who gladly agreed to play along for her. Since then, Joe seems to have truly changed, becoming as kind as he was when we first married. He still occasionally dreams about that hellish day, especially remembering the face of the man who grabbed him. While I felt a bit sorry for him, I thought it served as a good lesson